Up first this evening, a senior U.S. government official has refused to specifically address public concerns about the presence of a U.S. warship in Jamaican waters at a time when that country is mounting pressure on the Cuban regime.
However, sources tell TVJ News that the timing of the warship is, quote, just coincidence, and the visit part of the USS Nimitz goodwill tour.
Andrea Chisholm was among members of the media who toured the ship today.
The USS Nimitz in all its glory docked in the Kingston Harbor at the Kingston Freeport Terminal on Monday. It's one of the largest aircraft carriers in the world, 1,092 feet long, 252 feet wide, and its height 244 feet.
It's about the height of a 23-story building. We displaced 97,000 tons, and we have 2 nuclear reactors that we use to propel this ship. We are one of the fastest ships in the Navy. Even though this ship is so huge, it's so much bigger than every other ship that we have, it's actually one of the fastest in the Navy. We can go 30-plus knots while underway. That's incredibly fast.
The USS Nimitz is 51 years old, first commissioned in 1975 and scheduled to be decommissioned in 2027. On the flight deck, a display of military might, reality, not the movies.
The flight deck here on the USS Nimitz is usually abuzz with activities. This aircraft behind me is actually an F-18, capable of launching bombs and missiles. And here on the flight deck, one aircraft can be launched every 2 minutes.
Here at Flight Deck Control, the Ouija board shows the full layout of what's on the flight deck. There's also a digital version.
Since news broke that the USS Nimitz was coming to Jamaica, there have been many questions. People have been talking about the timing, and people are trying to figure out why is it that the vessel is here in Jamaica.
The visit of the aircraft carrier comes days after former Cuban President Raul Castro was indicted in the United States on charges of conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals during a fatal attack on 2 planes in 1996. The presence of the USS Nimitz also comes at a time when the U.S. administration has intensified pressure on the Cuban regime. The issue was put to U.S. Charge d'Affaires Scott Renner.
This visit comes at a time when we see that the U.S. has increased its military presence in the Caribbean. There are concerns about that. Should Jamaica and the wider Caribbean region be concerned?
Really, what the Nimitz is here for today, and it'll be here all week, is really that collaboration and cooperation. It's really about those ties to Jamaica. And for example, the sailors, part of what they'll be doing here, besides experiencing Jamaican hospitality, is they'll be going out to schools, doing repairs at schools. They'll be engaging with football players and sports teams, and a lot of community projects as well.
So no need to fear the increased military presence in the Caribbean?
What the Nimitz is here for, really, is that working with Jamaica. It's about Jamaica this week.
So given the speculation and talks about Cuba, what about the perception of Jamaica? We spoke to Cabinet Minister Senator Aubin Hill.
One of the things I know that the talk that you hear is probably uninformed. What I am telling you, I'm here as the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce to greet one of the United States' most important fleet, because the Nimitz is the head of a seven-ship fleet. And I know the Nimitz from I lived and worked in the Middle East.
Sources tell TVJ News that the timing of the visit of the aircraft carrier is just mere coincidence. They agree there are concerns about Cuba, and the U.S. wants a change in the Cuban regime. However, the visit by the Nimitz is part of a goodwill tour.
It is a signal that freedom of the seas is non-negotiable. We view our security, our stability, and our prosperity as being intricately tied to yours. Together, we remain committed to confronting shared challenges, including transnational criminal organizations and regional instability. We are also committed to work together to support regional initiatives such as the Counter Cartel Coalition and the Gang Suppression Force in Haiti.
The USS Nimitz carried over 4,000 sailors, some of whom have already left the ship to experience Jamaica's culture. It's the final stop of the Southern Seas 2026 deployment and is described as a symbol of the long-standing relationship between Jamaica and the United States. The aircraft carrier will remain at the port of Kingston until June 5. Andrea, Chisholm, TVJ News.